Hello, boys and girls. You are now listening to the New Daye podcast. I am Peter Daye, the Daye part of the New Daye, and your turn.
I am Nathan Newman, the new part of the podcast name.
Like the old new version.
Yeah, only it's spelled Neudaye. See what we did there?
Yes, I came up with it. Unless you're talking to the audience.
No, I'm talking to the audience. I know you know.
You're talking to both of them?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, man, I'm exhausted. We just tried to do the whole... Hey, if anyone's listening and you know how to do this whole, like, Hangouts, Google Hangouts jazz, please hit me up. Hit me up at ellenjapanese77@gmail.com or, like, hit me on Twitter at ellenjapanese, LinJapanese.
Why are you Ellen Japanese 77 on Gmail? Did someone already have that?
I think I already had an Ellen Japanese account.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe someone did. Like someone Lynn Japanese. And it was already taken, so I just put the year I was born.
Ah.
Yeah, Ellen Japanese 77. But we were trying to do the Google Hangout thing, and that failed because I want to go more towards. I mean, if you've been keeping up, or anyone, both of you listeners out there of this podcast, I've been definitely directing my attention more towards the video. Jesus Christ! What you got some Muppets over there or something? What the hell?
No, I had to go grab something quick, you asshole.
Is that a dog?
No, it's not a dog. I don't have a dog.
Alright, whatever. Alright, and...
Making a lot of unnecessary noise to piss you off, but apparently it's working.
Yes? Okay.
The chair I'm sitting in is very squeaky.
Yeah, okay.
And it's about to fall apart.
Well, you need to lose some weight.
Huh?
You need to lose some weight then.
I weigh like 175 pounds, so fuck you.
Oh, well, you're too fat still.
I used to weigh 220, and a year ago, and I stopped drinking pop, and I lost like 40 pounds. So.
Look at you. You're from Minneapolis, pop.
Soda.
So what I was saying was, I feel like I want to get more viewers, and what's going to help is more listeners and more ears and more eyes, is to do more video stuff. And because I already do like the Raw recap, I do Peter's Talk SmackDown on video format, and I want to somehow get this in as, you know, like video content as well. I think it's kind of hard for people to go to YouTube and there's just sound, because I think people are more prone to listen and look, you know, on YouTube. But
not me, but most people, yeah.
Yeah, so.
I'm lazy, so I'd rather just lay in, like, when I get home from work or whatever, I'd just rather lay in bed and listen to a podcast. And if I'm up and doing something, I'll be listening to something when I'm driving, but...
Yeah. But, what is it? Why don't you have a computer?
I do have a computer. I just don't have a computer with a microphone or a webcam because I have never needed one.
Oh.
My computer is better than your computer. It just doesn't have a webcam.
Well, there's this application called Mobilia that you can actually use your iPhone as your camera.
I did not know that. I'll have to look into that then.
And do you have a Mac or a PC?
I have a PC.
Does your PC have Bluetooth? No, it doesn't need Bluetooth. It's wireless. If you have a wireless card, it'll connect wireless.
I think it does, yeah.
So,
either way, I think it does.
So whip out a pen, man.
A pen, not a pen 15, right?
Like, or something. Prick your finger and write it in blood. I don't. It's Mobiola.
M-O-B... Spell it again?
O-M,
Yeah.
as in mom.
Yeah.
O is as in open.
Okay.
B as in bitch ass.
Okay.
I,
Okay.
O, L as in lame.
Okay.
A as in
Okay.
asshole.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then T-Y?
T-Y, no, there's no T-Y.
So it's M-O-B-I-A... M-O-B-I-O-L-A.
Yes. And ladies and
Okay.
gentlemen, that is your spelling for the day.
This isn't going to be on the podcast, is it?
Yeah, totally.
Fuck.
Yeah, totally. We let them behind the curtain sometimes. So yeah, like I think the app on your phone is it's like $2 or something like that.
Okay.
And we'll give that a shot next time.
Okay.
Because you have to download it to your computer, and then you have to download the app to your phone. And then
That's
when you turn on the app turn on the program on your computer, it's gonna request for the app, and then you turn on the app, and then boom, you're on. Your computer has a webcam.
That sounds like way too much fucking work.
No, it's not. You just hit a button.
I don't want people to see me when we do this shit, damn it.
Well, you gotta suck that up.
Whatever.
Alright. So,
I'm a private person, damn it.
that's cool, but like, like this is, once every 2 weeks this is gonna happen. So, and maybe we try to condense these to at least an hour worth of talking and keep it cool, fuck it. The girls are gonna dig it. You're gonna get all these fucking you're gonna get all these like tweets from like hot babes. It's like, I saw you on the New Day podcast. I thought you were really hot.
Totally.
I'm only 12, but I still think you're really cute.
12-year-olds can't use Twitter. There's like an age limit, and it's like you have to be at least 13.
And what? 12-year-olds don't lie?
Well, 12-year-olds suck, so who cares?
Well, you a 12-year-old. You're still 12. Well, check
No,
this
I'm
out.
not.
So we're the New Day podcast, and we're going to get past all this damn rambling, and we're going to actually go in to
Yeah,
some
please,
content.
none of this stuff should be included in the actual final
It's
cut.
in there, dude. It's
God
in
damn
there.
it.
It is in there. You know what I did
Talking
take
about
out?
12-year-olds and shit.
I took out on the Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling podcast. Man, we had like one of the most epic arguments ever, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But right now, we're the New Day podcast, and we do this every other Friday. From this Friday, next Friday, we'll have another one. Go back and check out a Memorial Day.
No, you're talking 2 weeks from this Friday.
2 weeks from this Friday.
But I don't know with my work schedule if every other Friday is going to work out anymore, so we might have to play it by ear and do it whenever the fuck we can.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have to play this by ear. It used to be every other Friday.
Well, and the last time we did it was on a Monday. So
Yes,
that's
Memorial Day. Yes, but that's not going to happen every time because Monday, that time where I would have to record and then upload, well, maybe because I got faster internet, but before then, it was just painstaking the upload. So I stream raw. I don't have a TV, so that would have been a big problem.
You don't have a TV?
No, not at all. I haven't owned a TV since 2000.
The fuck is wrong with you?
What the fuck's wrong with you? I don't need a TV.
I would go nuts without a TV.
Well, I got internet, man. I can watch I don't watch television. That's the thing. I only watch wrestling. I watch wrestling and sports. So I go to where I need to go, and if I want to watch anything extracurricular, I mean, there's sites that I go to. I just go to YouTube.
Makes sense, I guess. Not really, but to each their own.
So we're the New Day podcast.
You've said that like 5 times.
I know, because you keep cutting me off. And thank you for listening. A lot of shit going on, man. How you feel about? It's like some 8 different topics going on at once, and I want to talk. I keep bringing up the New Day because I think, for the fact that we are the New Day,
the stable, not the podcast.
Yes, I want to talk about the New Day and how they're going to be missing a member moving forward.
They are?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't heard about this.
So, in a couple of days, WWE is going to do like a Japan tour. You ever heard about this?
That's in a month, dude.
Well, that's a couple of days. That's 30 days. A couple of days.
No. If you're talking about the Tokyo show that they just announced?
Yeah.
That's on July 4th.
Well,
that's in a month.
Okay, a month from now, the New Day is going to be missing, moving forward, a member of their stable.
Oh, because Brock Lesnar's going to kill him? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, Kofi Kingston's gonna die.
But still, your time frame doesn't really add up because it's a month. Well, it was a month from yesterday.
I don't care about a time frame.
It's on my birthday, goddammit. You should know.
I don't know your fucking birthday.
It's July 4th, goddammit.
Well, I'll be damned. I guess you're the hot dog that's going to be on that day.
And Kofi Kingston's going to die for our sins in Japan.
Yes, he is. I'm going to already pour a little bit out. I think I'm going to pour a little bit out every day till then. I'm going to, yes. He's dead men walking. And I find it very interesting. It's going to be, because on the card so far, this Tokyo thing, but this in particular, this Kofi versus Brock, they got Owens, Kevin Owens versus Finn Balor.
That'll be Finn Balor's title shot.
And Jericho versus Neville.
No, I don't. Oh yeah, you're right. Because see, a lot of people were mixed up because there's going to be a show on the 3rd and there's a show on the 4th. Okay. Uh-huh. And Chris Jericho's opponent for one of those shows is Finn Balor. Mm-hmm. And then one of the opponents is Adrian Neville, and I'm still going to call him Adrian, even though they cut his first name out because
Adrian.
But I think the one that's airing is the one where Jericho will take on Adrian Neville, so we won't necessarily see the one with Finn Balor, which I would prefer to see. But I mean, either match is going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, man.
Chris Jericho's a dickhead for only working house shows, but that's.
I don't think he's a dickhead for wanting to do that.
I can't stand Jericho, so...
You're out of your mind.
You and me are on completely different... I like him as a wrestler. I like him as, like, a lead singer of the band Fozzy, because I think his music is pretty good. What I don't like, however, is his podcast and the fact that he has an opinion on everything... within regards to wrestling, and it's always he comes off to me like a mark that doesn't know wrestling, and it's very annoying, and it drives me insane.
Yeah, I don't listen to his podcast.
I listened to his podcasts like the first couple episodes because I wanted to because he had Steve Austin on, so I wanted to listen to that because Steve Austin's my favorite of all time. And then I gave it a shot a couple times after that with some of the episodes he had, but like when they took Steve Austin's show, or the Steve Austin show off of, or the Stone Cold Podcast as the WWE Network calls it, off of the network, before recently putting it on this last Monday, mm-hmm. And they brought Chris Jericho's podcast in, I'm like, no, I have no interest in this because it's just going to be a corporate company shill, and Chris Jericho's a kiss ass, and it just has no interest to me. And I think he interviewed Stephanie McMahon was one of them, and I can't remember what the other one was. But
I think it was just Steph. It was only Steph.
So it was only the one.
Yeah, and I didn't watch it.
Okay.
I had absolutely no interest.
Yeah, I had no interest in watching it. It was on a Thursday after SmackDown, which Thursdays I can't watch SmackDown because I've got a prior commitment. So I did go back last night because now I have a DVR. So I saw what I wanted to from SmackDown, but it's like Chris Jericho, unless he's wrestling, I don't care what he does.
Well, all right, that's what's up. Sorry you feel that way. I kind of just tune it out, you know. As he would say, I would sort of tune it out. I don't know.
That was a bad Canadian impression.
Well, you know, whatever. I'm not Canadian. I would hate to hear him do I would hate to hear you do a Southern accent. I bet it sucks just as much.
Probably.
All right, then.
I'm not even going to try because I can't do it.
Yeah. Well, check this out, right? They're going to actually air this. Yeah, they're going to air the Kofi versus Brock on the network exclusively.
Well, they're going to air the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm just that one. I'm not sure if Brock is facing anyone the day after or the day before.
No, he's just slated to wrestle Kofi Kingston.
Because
they're only really promoting the show on the 3rd and the 4th.
Okay.
So, but I've heard some stuff that's going on the 3rd, but the big thing that they are hyping is the 4th.
Okay.
And what sucks about this is that I won't even be able to watch it live, and I'm pretty sure that 90% of America will not be able to watch it live either.
Yeah, well, I think they're not shooting for 90% of America. I think they're shooting for like the hardcore wrestling fans who will actually buy into the network. If they know like exclusive cool shit like this is going to be on, then yes, that's what they're really shooting for.
And that should be the draw.
Oh, totally, always.
Like if they go to Japan, they should always do this. Like if they go to Mexico, they should do this. I don't think they will go to Mexico because their market there. I mean, it's not to say that it's not good, but they don't really have a big Mexican star anymore.
No. So
all the Mexican star power that they had is over in AAA.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to see them try to do it in Mexico, but I don't think it's going to be feasible considering there's not somebody that they can do it with. And like the Japan thing makes sense because Hideo Itami is on the roster and he's huge over there.
But he's not going to be on this tour. He's hurt.
Well, I know that, but I'm just saying, even when he's not hurt, and I mean, he could make an appearance.
Well, I mean, I would think that the whole
easily.
Japan and the WWE has always had a relationship. So I see this as a smooth transition. I think it's a shame that there are no New Japan guys involved. I think that was one of the things that Daniel Bryan was when he brought up facing Shinsuke
Nakamura.
Yeah, he was bringing it up because he knew he was going to be part of this Japan tour, and he was kind of making a fuss out of it. And it's funny that he makes a fuss out of something that he's not even going to be a part of.
Well, but that was a long ass time ago.
It wasn't that long ago. It was like 2 months ago. It was like right after WrestleMania.
WWE time, dude.
Yeah, but
3 weeks is a long time.
No, but I'm not talking about that. I'm not gauging that stuff. I'm just saying that the fact that he actually brought it up.
Yeah. Well,
people still remember it, and I think.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if they would have done that match here, the big sell on that match would have been it's the IWGP Intercontinental Champion versus the WWE Intercontinental Champion. That was the whole appeal to it. Well, neither of those guys is the champion or the Intercontinental Champion in their respective promotion anymore.
Well, Daniel Bryan's not even in.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying Nakamura's not even the Intercontinental Champion over in Japan anymore.
I saw that watching War of the Wars.
War of the Worlds?
Yeah, that's what it was called, right?
Yeah, well, and he's better. The guy who beat
Global Wars? No, Global War. The one that was the first night.
Okay.
When he battled, he fought. Wait a minute, who did he fight? I think he fought Cedric Alexander. Was that? Who did he?
I can't remember. I know he faced Roderick Strong
on War of the World.
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure.
The night before he faced Cedric Alexander.
Okay.
All right. So check this out. Let's move on. I just thought I brought that up. They're gonna have it exclusive on the network. I think it's pretty cool. You got the Elimination Chamber they had exclusively on the network. You got this.
We should talk about that too.
Yeah, they had this that's exclusively on the network. I feel like they're trying to get the ball rolling on terms of like what kind of content is going to they can experiment.
They're finally starting to figure out what the network should be. Because I mean, when the network first started, all that was there was all the WCW, WWE, and ECW pay-per-views, and then they started expanding it, and they've never really figured out like how they always shove down our throats. Oh, get the network for $9.99. Okay. Well, they've never really figured out how to do that or how to sell people on the network until like the last couple months, because like the King of the Ring, that was an exclusive on the network that you could only get on the network. Elimination Chamber was an exclusive on the network that was not on pay-per-view. And this Japan show, which was originally supposed to be a house show, is going to be streamed live on the network. So I think they're finally...
But I think it's like baby steps. I think one step... I think it wouldn't have been... in terms of the network, because it's only been like, what, a year and a half now?
It's been since February 24th of 2014.
Okay, so like almost a year and a half now. And... You know, it's a learning basis. They started with the pay-per-views. They started with NXT. I think if they would have had to done all that stuff all at once, I think it would have just been overload. You know, I think they knew. Listen, I think they knew all along that they needed to get exclusive content on there. But I think it would have just been too much. Like we're too busy right now trying to get this. The Monday Night War stuff and all these 24s and all this stuff. But then like the exclusive sort of wrestling stuff, I mean that's another thing to pay for. That's another thing to staff for. That's another thing to sort of organize and have it run smoothly. So I think if they would have done it like right at the beginning, it wouldn't have worked. As for say what's happening now is that like they've got the pieces together to be able to do stuff like this. But it's about what is the content. What content, like they're experimenting with what works and what doesn't work. And I think, Elimination Chamber, King of the Ring. The thing about King of the Ring, it sucked because they didn't, it was like one day's promotion to do it.
Yeah, it was like it was something totally last minute.
Yeah.
And like same with Elimination Chamber to an extent.
But I think 2 days versus 2 weeks.
Yeah. 2 weeks. Still, they need like.
But listen, they're still going through the growing pains of doing this. You talk about this thing now, they can have a whole month. So 2 days, 2 weeks, now a month. Now, say going into what's happening with Takeover, they have a quarter amount of time, like quarter, because they do one every quarter. It's just like 4. I think it's by the time we get to. I would say by September, by end of this summer, they'll probably have content to where they will promote way ahead of time, if not a month. Because hell, they can't exceed a month, being that their pay-per-views are a month. They only 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks before they actually air stuff on the network. I mean, to let you know that there's a pay-per-view. So it's not like, oh yeah, if they got like a random thing they want to show exclusively on a network, well, oh yeah, let's give it like a month and a half worth of promotion time. I just don't see that being logistic for them, because that's not how they really work. They work within a month's time. But but enough of that. I thought I'd bring that up from the beginning. Yeah. So you got to watch. No, let's move because I don't want to be here till like.
I just have a quick question for you. Do you think that with the network and all these live specials that they're doing and all these pay-per-views, do you think that they're eventually going to oversaturate the market? I mean, it's kind of already that way right now, but just a yes or no and like maybe a quick response. Do you think they're at risk of basically oversaturating the pay-per-view market and like totally?
Well, they're not in the pay-per-view market any longer.
Well, yeah, but okay, the live. I don't know how to.
If you think that if overexposing or like oversaturating
that's
themselves,
basically what I'm saying. Like overexposure.
Well, they've been doing that since Raw, since they started doing SmackDown. I mean, I think in terms of as a kid and knowing that every Saturday I was going to watch a show and not see these guys too often and be excited about seeing them because I was only getting an hour's worth of time of seeing them for once a week. Yeah, but then when
that's another thing too. Like as a kid, like if you were like when I started watching wrestling, I was 3-4 years old. If you were to ask 4-year-old me, hey, do you want to watch like 4 hours of wrestling? I'd say like, oh, hell yeah. But now,
but your parents would be like, oh, hell no.
No, because my dad got me into wrestling and my mom didn't care, so they let me watch whatever I wanted to watch.
Okay. See, my parents weren't that cool about me actually just sitting in front of the TV. If I was in the house, I was either cleaning up, or you could take your ass outside.
Well, I was sick a lot, so I couldn't do a lot of that stuff. Okay. So, all I could do was watch TV for the most part. But if you were to ask, like, let's say 4-year-old me versus like 29-year-old me, hey, there's like 4 hours of wrestling on. 4-year-old me would be super excited about it. 29-year-old me is like, oh Christ, 4 hours of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just overexposure.
Well, yeah. You can't really get excited anymore about seeing any one person, and that's where I feel. I mean, they're all in. I mean, I think to a certain degree, this is the world we live in now in terms of like, you know, the YouTube and the Netflix and the stuff where we want a lot of stuff. Maybe us traditional like wrestling fans aren't.
Well, and there is a lot of stuff out there.
But they're just trying to keep up with the Joneses in terms of their own content, and they're all in. I don't necessarily have a problem with it because I can either watch it or don't. I think there's enough resources out there between podcasts and things of that nature where if I miss something, I can catch up on it real quick. You know, I don't.
And then like.
I don't have to watch everything.
Yeah, the way I am now, like, I do watch everything, but, like, now that I have this job, like, even, like, if I miss something, like, Lucha Underground and Ring of Honor will always be a priority to me. NXT I would usually watch on Wednesday nights. Now that's kind of become a Thursday thing, but that's still kind of a priority because it's just 3 hours, like, Ring of Honor's an hour, Lucha Underground's an hour, NXT was an hour last night, exactly. If I miss a Raw or if I miss a SmackDown, I have a DVR. And even before I had this job, I never got to see SmackDown. So I found out about the Kevin Owens Invitational, so I watched that last night, but there's only so many hours of the day, and people have real lives, so there's only so much wrestling people can watch.
Or even wrestling podcasts they can listen to. So let's move forward to the next thing. So you got to watch Elimination Chamber.
Yep.
We got, so the titles. We're just going to stick with the titles. The titles stuck with the New Day, which I had the Ascension as my dark horse winning, but the New Day got a good thing going, and I think it's time for them to make like a really good run with the belt. You had Nikki Bella also retaining. We have a new IC champ in Ryback. Cena loses to Owens, and a good ruse of a title match where you thought that Ambrose won, but in fact Rollins wins via DQ. The start of the night was that referee.
That finish sucked, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, it's funny. I think the start of the night was that referee that came in to do the count after Dirty Deeds. He was the star of the night. He ran in and did that slide. I was like, that was awesome.
I love it when that happens.
Oh man, who was it? Patrick that did that one time? No, was it Robinson? It was one match where he runs in and
it was at I think it was at a WrestleMania because it was a match that had a super long ramp and he just ran as fast as he could and slid into the ring.
And he almost slid out the ring. He was still sliding when he was tapping. I was like, whoa! And that's what that reminded me of. I bet he was working on that for weeks, man.
There's a really funny GIF that I've seen. You remember when Edge, like early on in his career, he used to oil himself up really, like a lot, so his body was just covered in oil. There's one meme or one GIF that I've seen so many times where Edge runs down to the ring, and he's got so much oil on him that he slides into the ring and out the other side, like a slip and slide.
Yeah, I'll check that out. But the story of the night, and regardless of anything else, like we get it. That's why I wanted to just go down the card and by the way, how were your without going over? Just do you remember your count or the predictions?
I didn't do predictions for this show.
Okay, I was like 3-2. And the 2 that I got wrong, well, I'm pretty happy about. I'm glad that the New Day retained, and I'm also glad that Owens won. And let's go into Owens. So this is the argument that I got into with Jake, because I was under the impression that the WWE Network only exclusively showed the Elimination Chamber. He was telling me like, no, they did it on pay-per-view. I was like, no, they didn't do it.
No, they didn't.
So, because I was trying to go into the idea of why Owens won, and I think they could have done something like that with. He only won because it was an exclusive WWE Network thing. And I don't
necessarily agree with that, but I definitely I don't. And I remember listening to you guys argue about how it was a pay-per-view or it was an exclusive thing on the network. And
oh, you listened to it? I thought I cut that out.
I did, or maybe it was something else. But either way, because I listen to so many podcasts. But either way, I remember I went on because pay-per-view where I'm at, Comcast, comes in channel 501. So I looked the day of the show just to see if it was on pay-per-view, and it in fact was not.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I was trying to make that point, but we ended up getting to a serious. Oh man, it was knockdown, drag out. Yeah. We had to cut it because it was just like. I was like, never mind. Well, I ain't even got to go into it here. But the point of it is that that's I only think because I got excited. I actually did a reaction video where I could fucking lose it, but I thought it was interesting that he did win. And I go, well, if this was actually like a pay-per-view style match, if it was something that was on Comcast or DirecTV or Time Warner, would he have won or not? Would he have won?
Yes, he would have.
You think so?
Yes.
I don't think so. I think he would have lost via DQ.
I disagree. I said going into this match, whether it's on pay-per-view or whatever, Kevin Owens had to win. That's the only way about it. Because with a guy like him, how talented he is, it has nothing
to do with his talent. It's about how WWE feels about him and if they see money in him. It's about money.
It is about money, but what better way to have John Cena lose against a guy by the name of Kevin Owens, who is going to be a guy that people don't like because of the way that he comes off on TV, because of his character. Yeah. And then now they set up the match for Money in the Bank, and now people are going to want to see that to see John Cena get his comeuppance against Kevin Owens.
But on pay-per-view, though, and that's what I'm saying. I'm like, well, because it was a network exclusive, I think it gave them the liberty to pull something like that off.
But I think either way, if it would have been a pay-per-view, if the network was not a thing, okay, if it was just pay-per-view,
he would have
And
lost DQ.
No, he would not have.
They would have
He would've
started
won.
off. They would have started off this feud with no one winning clean. Like, there's no way in hell. There's no way in hell that anybody would have won clean. I
disagree.
don't even think Cena would have won clean.
I disagree because John Cena, at this point in his career, is past the point of being Super Cena.
No, he's not. Yeah,
Yes, he is. He's to the point where he doesn't need to win all the time.
Of course, he doesn't need to win, but he's still Cena, so he has to win.
He's still Cena, but yet people keep kicking. Like, how many times have you seen guys kick out of the AA now?
Well, right now is being booked like a really awesome suspense. I think the suspense factor is what they're playing on, and that's why even at the mid card, we're all waiting to see who he's gonna face and see how the matches turn out. I think at this moment he's more exciting than he's ever been because you know what, the stakes are actually high now. Now watching Cena, you know, and they're even more so now. People are tuning in to see if John Cena will win or not. Before you would just write it off like, hey, you know, like, yeah, I know he's gonna win anyway. You know,
Well,
and now it's like, to back up your point, but I think the level of suspense that is played now because there are actual stakes in his matches now. Not the fact that he's old or he's, you know, running out of time. I think it's just another part of his. I think there's another page in the chapter of the John Cena book of now there are stakes. This is stakes Cena, you know, and
yeah,
which makes it way more enjoyable to watch. You know, you're really on the edge of your seat. You're not just sitting back waiting for him to win, almost like the Taker when the Taker lost to Brock Lesnar. You know, you know the reaction that everyone
By the
had
way, that
was because
match won me a shitload of money.
Yeah, I bet. And actually, I'm gonna start doing that too. When everyone's reaction, because they were just like, okay, Taker's gonna win, you know, 42 and 0, and we go to the next match.
42?
It would have been. Sorry,
it would have been 22.
22. Why am I thinking 42? But it would have been 22, and we would have just went on with WrestleMania. But it caught everyone off guard, and I think this.
See, and I still think that match, like, if I was booking WrestleMania 30, I would have put that match on last.
Yeah, of course. Well, for that ending.
Yeah.
And the same happened with this, because I felt like, you know, who came on it? Bo Dallas versus Neville? Man, I felt bad for them, man. I felt really bad.
Yeah, same here, because that match felt nobody was into it, and it felt, and I made this comparison on Twitter. I said something about this match feels very unimportant, and it's weird to say that on a card that also had a three-way women's match that I did not care about.
Well, they don't write it for you to care about it, so why would you care about it?
What I'm just saying, comparing like Neville and Dallas to that match, it's like I don't care about either one of them, and like their match at Arrival, I cared about going into it, but this match was just hastily thrown together, and I didn't care, and it's amazing what a good build will do to a match versus a crappy build.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was that crappy. I thought it was pretty shotgun. I feel like everything on that card was all shotgun.
What do you mean by that?
Well, they were only working. I mean, they had just finished with Payback.
But they had 2 weeks to build it.
Yeah, you know, so you gotta really work, because they only had 2 weeks for Payback. They only had 2 weeks for Payback, and then they had another 2 weeks for Elimination Chamber.
Which is why I'm afraid that, and now they have another.
Money in the Bank is next week.
Yeah, so it's like they're booking pay-per-views 2 weeks out, and I don't think that's a good idea, because they're going to be most of the I think most of the pay-per-views nowadays, if they're booked 2 weeks out, are going to be, we're going to have a lot of filler.
Yeah, totally. But not so much. I think they're only doing it here. I don't think it's going to be like this for the rest of the year.
Not to mention that on June 14th, Money in the Bank, there is another pay-per-view going on that same night. So chances are that I won't even watch Money in the Bank live.
Wow. What pay-per-view is that?
AAA's next pay-per-view, and I can't remember what it's called, but I'm buying it.
Oh, is it the Mania?
No, not Fantastica Mania. That's CMLL.
No, there's another. Oh man. Oh well, I can't think of the name right now, but I'm thinking another name. It's not even important. I'm just saying, the WWE network, the WWE, the company, it can't sustain that kind of. It can't sustain that many big events back to back the entire year or ever. I think this is just an experimental mode. Again, you look at what Elimination Chamber ended up becoming for what it was. It was just going to be at Corpus Christi as a house show. And then when I guess they offered to put that fucking big ass piece of steel in their arena, they were like, why fucking not? Let's do it. And I think the Elimination Chamber is going to be in Corpus Christi from now on.
Yeah, probably most likely.
Yeah.
Which sucks because I've attended 2 Elimination Chamber events live. So it sucks that I won't be able to go to anymore. But I mean, it's good. I'm glad that they're still going to use the Elimination Chamber because I think it's an interesting concept. I've always really liked it, and I'm glad that they have found a way that they don't have to get rid of it.
Yeah, fuck Fastlane, man. Get that the fuck out of there. And
I think they'll keep Fastlane. I just think they're going to move, I just think that Elimination Chamber is going to be exclusively in June now. Because they move pay-per-views around all the time. If you remember, No Way Out used to be a pay-per-view in February, and then they moved it to June, and so I guess fall in February.
Well, one of those are going to have the jet then. Payback or Money in the Bank, gotta go.
Payback needs to get out of here because it's pointless.
But I think a lot of it is moving towards getting rid of Money in the Bank.
No, I don't think they're ever going to do that.
Well, I think they're not going to get rid of the Money in the Bank match. I think they're going to get rid of Money in the Bank.
You think they're going to get rid of Money in the Bank and then move Money in the Bank back to WrestleMania?
They need to do that.
Okay, I'll agree with you there.
Because you look at what happened with the IC ladder match, and I like the thing that it was.
Well, and if you remember right, I think it was. I want to say it was WrestleMania 27 was the first WrestleMania without a Money in the Bank ladder match, and that WrestleMania sucked.
Yeah. Because we're looking for the next big star. We're looking for the next
Rock ruined it.
Yeah, we're looking for the next big push. I mean, obviously, I guess if we were going to do another one of these sometime soon, we'll talk about Money in the Bank in terms of who do you think. Because I feel like there's so much more to talk about. So we need to move forward and focus on that maybe a little bit later. But so the Elimination Chamber, I'll just end it with this, was definitely a success. I like to think that.
I don't think it was.
I think it was a success. I
thought the show sucked.
I think it was a success. I didn't say was the show good or bad. I'm saying I think ultimately for the network was good. I think for the storylines that were going on, I think they all sort of, everything worked out. They said Naomi was going to win, but they pulled out and kept it on Nikki Bella. And Sheamus was supposed to win the IC belt, but they pulled out as well and gave it to Ryback.
One thing, I mean, the events Elimination Chamber was fine, but the 2 Elimination Chamber matches were dreadful.
Yeah, they were. I think because the guys were afraid to really give it any kind of real slobber knocker.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember which match it was out of the 2, but there was one match where it seemed like a lot of the guys were just. I think it was the Intercontinental match.
No, it was the tag team. They did not use the ring at all.
Well, they were waiting. there was one match where they were like everyone was just sitting around waiting for someone else to do something. Like they had like, because you know how in a match, and this is kind of breaking kayfabe, but if you're listening to this and if you listen to podcasts, you probably know this anyway. But usually in a match, you'll have, like if it's a one-on-one match, you'll have one guy calling it and then the other guy will listen. Whereas like this had like so many guys in it that they probably had a few guys calling the match, and the guys that weren't calling the match were waiting for their cues of being told what to do, and they didn't come when they were supposed to, so it just created a lot of awkwardness in the match.
I think it was probably that. I think it was the spot in the tag team one where old boy, not Torito. I hate that he redid it, but Kalisto, when he climbed the top of the ring, it was almost as if they were just standing around waiting for him to get to it.
You mean the chamber?
Yeah, the chamber.
That reminded me too much of something they did in TNA, but
it was Hardy.
No, I think it was Manic when he jumped off because they have a contraption that's similar to the chamber. Go figure, because they have to copy WWE every chance they get. Mm-hmm. But I think it was Manic who climbed on the top, or maybe it was Jeff Hardy. I'm not sure. Someone climbed on the top of this structure, and then everybody in the match had to basically wait underneath him with bated breath until he did what he did. And it was just, whenever a spot like that happens, it's always super awkward.
Yeah.
Because you're just, like, as wrestlers, you're sitting there waiting to catch somebody, and as a wrestling fan, you're sitting there waiting and saying, oh, what's going to happen? What are they doing?
Yeah.
And some spots, if they take too long to set up, they lose their effectiveness.
Yeah, they lose the momentum of the match.
Exactly.
But the only people that actually used it is when the primetime players finally entered the match. That was the only time that anyone used the great outside the ring, and then Titus was fucking people. Like, he was throwing them into the chains, and I was like, man, why wasn't this going on the entire time? Did they mail this in? Were they just afraid they weren't gonna get hurt? I don't know, but I like to think, I didn't say it was a good show. I mean, what stole the night was Cena Owens in the outcome.
Yeah,
but ultimately, and let's move on. But I think it was a success.
I just want to say one more thing pertaining about Chamber, and this, then we'll move on. But this is really quick. If there's ever a show that is considered a one-match show, Elimination Chamber was the true definition of that.
Yeah. And it's funny because we could have cared.
Yep.
They could have gave us other stories to care about, but they didn't. And I have my own. You know how I feel about them not making new stars and why they're doing all this shit on purpose. They're doing this by design, and it sucks. It sucks. But so moving forward, the biggest of the news, outside of Owens pinning John Cena, is the whole. You could bring Jerry Springer into this motherfucking thing about Destination America and them dropping TNA, but not only that, bringing in ROH. And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. But you have to remember, too, that the episodes on Destination America, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the episodes on Destination America are not first-run episodes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Sinclair Broadcast Group still gets rights to first-run episodes, and then for instance, the show comes on where I'm at on Saturday. So tomorrow there's going to be a new episode of Ring of Honor Television. And then that following Wednesday, that same episode will air on Destination America on a delay. So, a lot of people, I think, are just starting to realize that. And I've heard that the show on Destination America looks better than the show on the Sinclair affiliates because
WGN.
Well, no, the Sinclair Broadcast Group affiliates.
Yeah. WGN isn't that right?
No.
Oh.
That's WGN America is different from the channels or it's different from Sinclair Broadcast Group.
All right, then say what you had to say.
So, but I've heard that the production value on Destination America is different than the production value on
Whoa.
on Destination America because it's a lot higher quality on Destination America versus.
I thought they were just sending what they had that they were going to show on.
They are, like, essentially it's the same show, but from what I've heard, and I haven't seen the Destination America version because I don't care. I'd rather just watch it on the CW or on Sinclair live and then review it for the site that I review the show for. Yeah. But I've heard that because Sinclair Broadcast Group does not broadcast in HD, but I've heard rumblings that the shows on Destination America, or at least the one on Wednesday, wasn't HD, but it looked a lot better than the show that aired originally on Sinclair.
Yeah, they're gonna have, because the average camera is HD now. It's like it's kind of hard to come across like a camera, even like a camera you just pick up at Walmart. It doesn't have HD quality. That's kind of like the standard now. So they probably have the capabilities of shooting in HD. They probably shoot in HD anyway to keep the quality higher, regardless.
I don't know if they do.
To put on
because like Lucha Underground, they don't shoot in HD either.
Oh, they don't?
No, but their production value looks a lot better than.
I was totally under the impression that they shot in HD.
No, they don't. Their episodes are available later for HD, so they convert them later. But the original first run episodes for like Lucha Underground are not HD.
Okay.
But the difference is that Lucha Underground is owned by the El Rey Network, or what's his name? His last name's Rodriguez. I can't.
Yeah. Ascente.
But he knows more.
Oh, Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, Robert Rodriguez knows more about production than apparently the people at the Sinclair Broadcast companies do.
So what I was saying is, I think they're gonna have to send this stuff that they record in the raw. Like, I guess, what's the highest one? AAC or something? What is that? What would it be? Like the highest quality of video format? AAC?
You're talking codecs, and I have no idea what.
Okay, so I'm just saying they would have to give it to them raw. Give it to them raw. And then they will then put it in HD format for the television show. So here's the weird part, and this is why I want to get at.
I just want to mention this real quick.
It's not going to be real quick.
Yes, it is. The quality, if you go to ROHWrestling.com and watch the show via there, it'll be on a delay, but the quality there is a lot better than Sinclair Broadcast Group.
Well, that's something.
So
I think because they can format it into a higher quality stream.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what happens with TNA? And I know you don't care much about TNA, but I definitely hate to see people fail. Maybe it's on themselves. Right now, they're doing like a campaign. Like before we heard about them getting kicked off Destination America on Twitter, you didn't see as much of like individual wrestlers promoting Destination America. I think they're in this process of trying to keep their contract, even though Destination America has already made up their mind that they're just going to get rid of them and they're going to run with ROH.
Yeah. Now, I think with the whole...
check this out.
Sorry.
Check it out. Well, I didn't know that Destination America itself I did not know. I knew that when they took on TNA, I thought they were just taking on something just to get some viewership. I didn't know that they wanted to actually be like a place to go for wrestling. Like, I didn't know they wanted wrestling to be their flagship content for that that network, that network. What else is on that network?
A bunch of crap that I don't care about. Like, I couldn't even tell you.
Like reality TV type stuff?
No, it's like nature shows and a bunch of weird stuff. Like, they're owned by the Discovery Channel.
Yeah.
So if you know what's on like the Discovery Channel and like National Geographic, that's pretty much what's on there.
But I thought they were going to try to do something. That's the whole point of Destination America, to sort of have other content outside of what they already do for Discovery. Now, again,
no, I think it's just like I think it's just like a thing within their conglomerate or umbrella of networks. I don't think they're trying to do anything different aside from having two wrestling companies on the network.
Yeah, well, not for long. It's only going to last until...
Yeah, well, and it's funny that you mentioned that because, like, I don't know if you remember when ECW was on TNN. Well, it's now Spike TV, but it was TNN. And so TNN brought in ECW, and then they brought in WWE. And the sole purpose of them bringing ECW onto TNN was to be a test run to see if they could handle doing WWE, to see how it would take on their network. And I think if you fast forward 14, 15 years later, you've got the same situation. I think Destination America wanted to bring TNA onto their network to see how wrestling would fly, and then they picked up ROH, and now they're planning on dropping TNA.
But you remember the last time we spoke about the idea of TNA losing their their contract? And I was like, maybe perhaps there's like some backstage heat going on.
Well,
and apparently...
Didn't I mention that letter that Dixie Carter accidentally sent out?
No, we didn't know anything at all.
Well, okay,
it had made it out about the fact that she sent out a letter calling them dummies.
Yeah, okay, so you know about that.
Yeah, and she accidentally BCC'd the guy that runs Destination America, where it's like it's head slap time, you know? I
don't understand how someone can accidentally do that unless you're an idiot.
Well, if you're Dixie Carter, I can understand why you would do it.
Well, that's because she's an idiot.
Yeah, and just like the guy before her who pulled some dumb shit like that and sent, was it Dave Meltzer a letter in a BCC, sent to Dave Meltzer in a BCC?
I don't remember hearing about that.
Well, that was the whole thing about like what was Vince Russo's involvement with TNA, and he
yeah, you're right.
And he denied, and come to find out, he sent a letter with like some creative to Dixie, but I think it was,
and that's why they got kicked off of Spike TV originally.
I think Dave Meltzer was in the BCC, so it's almost like this same shit. Like he said, he ended up with it. Like, what? How the fuck did I end up? What? You know, like, so I imagine it's just like, you got people who just need to stay away from fucking, like, computers, technology, and emails.
I'll say this about TNA, and because these are my overall thoughts, and they're kind of vague, but not really
precisely vague
if you listen to it. But TNA as a product, even with the guys that they've lost, is pretty good. I don't want to see TNA fold, because if they do, then you've got it's kind of like 2001 where WCW folded. You've got so many guys on the market looking for jobs. They got to feed their families. I don't want anybody to be out of work.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side of that, TNA management do not deserve to have jobs.
Well, they don't need to be running they don't deserve to be running a wrestling company.
They do something else.
And it sucks with the whole Billy Corgan thing too. Him jumping on board and like having the carpet snatched under him before he can actually close the door.
Yeah,
And it's like, but I want the wrestlers to succeed in whatever they do, whether that's going to ROH, going to GFW, whatever, because I think a lot of these guys are going to end up going to Global Force.
Well, MVP's just left.
Yeah, but I don't, like, some of these people within TNA, I don't know how they ever got to be in the wrestling business, because they do not know how to run a wrestling company.
Who out of the TNA guys you hope the best for after this whole
I don't even know who's on their roster right now.
The first person that comes to mind is EC3.
Yeah, him. Like, he could be, they could do something good with him in anywhere he goes. I think he would be great in Global Force. They could build, because I've had this complaint about Global Force, is that they don't have a guy who they could build the company around.
You're not going to do it around Moose.
No, you're not. He's good, but
no, he's not good to me.
He has potential to be good. I mean, right now he's kind of cringeworthy, but a lot of people see potential in him and see that he could do something down the line, but I don't think building a company around him right now is a good idea. They could potentially build a company around EC3.
Of course.
If they did it right.
Yeah, if they did it right.
But, like,
he would have to go blonde, too. He got to go
Chris
blonde.
Masters.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. Chris Masters.
Like, Chris Masters, Justin Gabriel, like, they're good talents, but... Or PJ Black. They're good talents, but they're not guys that you can build a company around. So their roster really puzzles.
It's what hurts Global Force's NXT and them just snatching up all the hot new talent, man.
That's the thing. Because the way I understand it, like, Moose is on a pay-per-appearance deal, meaning that he can still wrestle in Ring of Honor. But if Global Force Wrestling wants to be a legit competition or number 2
don't even talk
to
about that.
WWE, I'm not saying right away, but I'm saying eventually, if that is their goal, they have to sign guys to written contracts.
Yeah.
Otherwise, WWE is going to snatch these guys up, and Global Force is going to be screwed before they even get off the ground.
I don't think WWE is going to snatch those guys up for nothing. You're talking about the new talent? I think the new talent, I think the new fresh talent have jobs now. Those guys have jobs. Whether it's Lucha Underground, which is basically the guys who were in Tough Enough. And then you have NXT.
Not really. They've got 3 guys that were in Tough Enough.
But nevertheless, they still got vital roles in that show. Then you have NXT, and I feel like the hottest dude on the planet is Uhaa Nation. And you can build a company around a guy like Uhaa Nation. And he's snatched up, man. You look at the guys that are actually on NXT. You look at your Finn Balor's, and you look at your Hideo Itami's, and you look at your Sami Zayn's. Like, they are snatched up. And speaking of PJ Black, did you read the thing about him being the bunny?
I've known that for a long time.
I always thought it was Sami Zayn.
It was a lot of people thought it was Sami Zayn, but apparently what had gotten him to the point where he was sick of working for WWE and why he walked out, or basically gave his notice and then left, was that he was sick of being the bunny and
not being able to make the best of it.
Yeah. Well, not being able to do what he can do in the ring.
Yeah, well, that too. Well, from what I read, he was actually, I guess for what he thought, he was content with the bunny, but it seemed that he wanted to make the best of it. And he was, between him and Rose, they were just throwing ideas to make it interesting for them and possibly put it over and maybe get him out of the bunny suit to be able to be an in-ring performer on the main.
Well, I think if they would have went with it, and if Justin Gabriel wouldn't have left the way they did, I think we would eventually have seen the bunny get revealed as Justin Gabriel, and then those two would have feuded.
I don't think so. I think they would have just always kept that for what it is. I don't know how it works because we've seen this before. I watched this show. I love that line. And we've seen who was the general manager, like that computer, we were supposed to never know who that fucking computer was supposed to actually be.
Yeah, and they wrote it off so dumb, and then they brought it back for one night when they were doing guest hosts, and it's just like, well, everyone knows it's Hornswoggle now, so it's stupid.
Yeah, that and other things they just don't really play into, and I think as long as he would have been in the bunny suit, he would have just stayed in the bunny suit for just stupid comic relief and not necessarily something that would have led to a payoff.
Yeah, you might be right.
So. What? Anything else? Oh yeah. Speaking of which, let's go back. We should have transitioned into Kevin Owens signing to the main roster. But two big signings to the main roster was Kevin Owens as the NXT champion and Samoa Joe. And I don't think we've talked since he appeared on NXT since Takeover. Have we?
I don't believe we have.
Yeah, that motherfucker got t-shirts already. And Kevin Owens has 3 shirts now. And, so apparently he has, basically 3 more weeks with NXT, and then he's going to be full-time on the Raw SmackDown.
Who?
Owens.
So that means he's got to lose the belt within 3 weeks, and that's why they're doing this open challenge thing, or this NXT open challenge on SmackDown, and I don't know if that's going to be a thing going forward for the next 3 weeks or what.
But does he lose it?
He has to.
He doesn't have to. He just beat John Cena. He can just walk back and be like, you know what? I was thinking. Yeah. And
listen to me.
He
has to listen, or he has to lose the title, because if he doesn't lose the title, and this is a stretch. If he has to lose the title, it's going to make Paige look like crap. The reason why I say that is because when Paige got called up to the main roster, she was the first NXT Women's Champion. She won the Divas title, and they made her look like crap by stripping her of the women's title or the NXT Women's title, and then putting it up in another tournament.
Well, no, I don't see it that way. That it would happen with Owens. I'm thinking he'd show up and be like, you know what? I want the main roster belt. I want that the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Fuck this belt. Fuck you NXT fans. Eat a dick. And just leave on one of the biggest heelish fucking fuck yous you can ever give.
That would be a big heel move for Owens, but it would make NXT look like shit.
Nah, not really.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Just like the other day, or
who's watching NXT?
The last time we talked, when you said, does Kevin Owens doing what he did to the U.S. title devalue the U.S. title?
Okay.
Remember, and I said no. But if he literally came out and said he didn't need the NXT championship, then it would completely devalue the existence of NXT.
I don't think so. I don't think he.
Well, because then the people fighting for it, it's like the fans would see it as, well, why are they fighting for it if the guy who just had it said the title didn't mean anything?
Because it's developmental, man.
But I understand that, but developmental still should mean something.
It means that you're developing to get to the main roster. I
know that.
To make more money.
If you got a guy who's already on the main roster who's trashing the title, then developmental doesn't mean anything.
Then developmental turns into, hey, we got to work even harder to get the hell out of here. And it just becomes, again, it's what it is. I can't look at it for anything else than the fact that it is developmental. Basically slow your ass down to prolong a very long career on the main roster. I can't look at the NXT belt. I mean, if he wants to flash it while stepping on that U.S. title, then you know what? You're cornering yourself into something that I think you don't want to, because it is what it is. It's a developmental. It's a developmental branch, And these guys can check it out. These guys can be taken seriously, and that's the whole point on being on NXT, to be taken seriously once you ascend to the main roster.
But
how can you destroy something? How can you make something look bad that isn't supposed to really meant to look good in the first place?
NXT hasn't been. They still are, for all intents and purposes, developmental. But now that ever since they've been on the WWE Network since February 27th of 2014, they are classified as developmental, but to most fans, they are not a developmental promotion anymore. They are seen as a third brand. But are
they money? Is that money? Do you get money out of those people?
The house shows draw money.
What? How much is it in Orlando?
They tour all over the world. What? Where have you been?
What, NXT?
Yes.
They don't tour all over the world.
Not all over the world.
They've toured to some spaces because that's
the
part
United
of the
States.
development.
They're touring all over there. All over the U.S. they're touring. So technically, they're not developmental anymore.
They are development. Don't try to turn it on its head. Don't turn it on its head. It is what it is, big man. And I understand that, like, they got some guys that are on there that people care about. But the purpose isn't to make them NXT stars. The purpose is to develop them for the main roster. And
I understand that.
Hey, if you want to feel that way, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, but what I'm saying is, for me personally, and anyone who's listening, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to. The point of NXT is not to develop these guys as stars or NXT stars. If they're trying to turn that, or anyone who's even perceiving to turn that into a third brand, I think you're doing yourself an injustice, not only to your fans
I completely disagree.
Of the WWE product, but you're also doing an injustice to the actual wrestlers. Because those actual wrestlers, you can't hold them to yourself on this small stage, you know? Like, they're going to have to leave at some point. Finn Balor is going to have to leave NXT. Sami Zayn is going to have to leave. Tyler Breeze is going to have to leave. Charlotte, Bayley, Sasha, they're all going to have to leave, and there's going to have to be a whole new wave of up-and-comers that are going to have to take their place. And and it sucks for those people to have to come in, because the wave doesn't just stop with those people in particular. A new set of people have to come in, and if these guys are big stars and this is third brand, it takes away from the idea that it is developmental. How about the guys coming up? How about the guys coming up? It's gonna, and then people not want to see them because they're not Finn Balor, because he's gone to the main roster. You know that you don't want to see her because she's not Sasha Banks because she's on the main roster. Like, those guys are doomed. If people with this same philosophy that these guys are NXT stars, I think it's counterproductive. I
disagree, because the way I've looked at it, and the way I've looked at it since they debuted on the network, is that NXT is now a third brand. Okay, they promote NXT on the main shows. They acknowledge its existence. Prior to the network prior to the network's existence, they were exclusively on Hulu. Nobody knew that NXT existed. Only the hardcores would watch NXT, and to some extent, only the hardcores still do watch NXT.
Yes, that's the point.
But some of the casuals or some of the people that have the network probably have watched NXT a time or two.
So in your estimation, let's just say you whip up like a magic ball of, say, the 3 million people that watch Monday Night Raw, right? How many of that 3 million are watching NXT?
I don't know, because
just take a guess.
I don't work for WWE. I don't have the numbers.
No. What would you assume? What would you assume that out of those casual and hardcore people? Okay, let's just say, I just throw a round number out there. Let's just say 400,000 people are watching NXT on the network. right?
That's probably a good estimation because a lot of people, the main draw to me, the reason I got the network was for NXT.
And say out of that 400,000 people, 100,000 people are casual WWE fans, WWE Raw fans.
Yeah.
Okay. That's nothing.
The people, okay, if you look on Twitter and you see the people that complain about Raw, most of those people are casual fans. And the reason why I know that is because usually I will ask them, okay, do you watch NXT? And most of those people will tell me no because they do not know it exists. That's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, they don't know that it exists.
Yeah.
I think, for some reason, I'm thinking, just my opinion, if they did know it exists, do you think it would be something that they would like sort of edge out into their schedule?
It depends. Like, I think a casual viewer of Raw or someone who only watches Raw or the main shows, once they started watching NXT and they realize not everything is good, okay? Some weeks are filler. Like, this week was complete, to me, most of it was filler. But on the weeks that they're really good, they're really good. Mm-hmm. So I think if they saw, like, one episode of NXT and they liked it, I think that chances are that they would make an effort to schedule an hour out where they could come back weekly and watch it.
But they would have to also buy the network. And do you think that same person that you ask would say, hey, well, where can I watch it? Who's this Kevin Owens guy everyone's talking about?
Yeah.
Well, he's from this thing called NXT. Where Neville's from. So, where do I find it? It seems like everyone knows it except me. Well, you would have to either go online and find a way, which I doubt they would know how to find it upload.
Well, Hulu Plus.
Well, okay.
It's on Hulu Plus, and then there's another way I know of that you can watch it without the network that most people don't know about.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I stream everything. I pirate a lot of shit in terms of like live streaming.
Yeah.
But do you think they would want to buy the network to watch NXT? That same person who just watches Raw every Monday.
If they watched NXT and they enjoyed it, because the way I am, if I watch 1 hour of wrestling and it's brand new to me, if I enjoy that 1 hour, I will come back to it and I will make it a part of my viewing habits. Whereas if I watch, like, the other end of it, if I watch a wrestling show, a brand new wrestling show, and I think it sucks, chances are I will not come back to it. So it depends, really. If they watch NXT, like if their first time watching NXT was this last week, I would say no. But if they start with like a takeover live special or something like that, chances are that yes, they would come back and watch it.
I was once a very casual WWE guy. And it took me a while to sort of get into watching independent shows. Watching ROH, watching PWG, watching New Japan. Very green,
Yeah.
And I will admit, one of the things, I started watching it because I started appreciating the art of wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Like, really the physical form outside of the storylines. Because I would definitely say I'm a storyline guy first. Just like I am when it comes to music, I'm more of a production guy than lyrics.
Okay, you're completely opposite of me then, because I'm a storyline guy in sense, but to me the storylines are secondary because I want them to lead. Yeah, they'll lead into a match and whatnot, but I'm more interested in the match itself than the storyline.
And a lot of casual fans are basically following the storyline,
Well, yeah, because it's a soap opera.
Yeah, that's what pulls people in.
Yep.
But also the aesthetic. At one point, and I remember explaining to Jake why I didn't watch independent wrestling, because I watched it and it looked like a dark comedy.
Well, it depends what
low
you're
lights. It's like a theater, and
so would you
like a small hole in the wall theater.
Okay.
And when you're just used to watching Raw, and you're watching the big crowd and the panning of the cameras and the pyrotechnics and the Titron and the bright lights, and it's very involving, very interactive. And then if you go from that to you have to train your brain to watch independent wrestling, and the fact that all of that stuff that's in the Raw or SmackDown isn't happening. It's like, certain amount of cameras, certain amount of effects. You don't have the pyrotechnics. You don't have the big wide angles. You don't have the thousands of people in the crowd. And I think that would be one of the things that will hold the most casual watchers, because I was there, from really appreciating what is going on in the independent circuit. I think Lucha Underground is the outlier here, because the cinematography is, and the angles and everything that they put into it it's really glossy. But then when you watch ROH or PWG looks like it's in a barn,
Well, all that, like, would you consider? I've got a question for you, because you said indie promotions. Would you consider at this point Ring of Honor still to be an indie promotion?
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
Very much so. I think it's about budget. It's about money.
Okay.
How much money do you have to play with to create something that is larger? If they had the money, I guarantee you they would, because they do want to compete with the WWE. Why even have a business if you don't want to compete with the other people doing it on a higher level? You want to either be looking at them eye to eye or looking down on them.
Sure. Well, and to me, Ring of Honor, ever since they started doing live pay-per-view, haven't been an indie company. But plus, like, the whole Sinclair thing, kind of, a lot of people are saying that they haven't been an indie company since they were bought out by a corporation. Because, like, there's fans of, like, Shikara, for instance, that look at ROH and they say, well, compared to what Shikara is, Ring of Honor sold out because they bought into a corporation and now are being run by a corporate media giant in Sinclair Broadcasting.
But you know what it reminds me of? If I was to bring up like a comparison to that, it's like Sunkist looking at Cheerwine going, man, you sold out.
Yeah.
I just go like, what do you mean? Because because my distributor is Pepsi. I'm still a regional drink.
Yeah.
I'm not just a drink for a county any longer.
Sure.
You see what I'm saying? Or say, take what happened, in the beer industry, where you get like small independent beer companies who land a better distribution deal and seen as sellouts, but they're not competing against Budweiser. They're not competing against Miller. Those are the top dogs. If they could at least get eye to eye to Samuel Adams, that would be considered a success. But ROH, for that matter, if anyone's looking at them as sellouts, I'm like, man, you must watch your degree of expectations of a wrestling show has to be from the backyard. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a shame. Like, that's a shame that people actually look at ROH as a bunch of sellouts.
Well, and like, I know, like, from personal experience and people I know in my personal life, I know, like, when Ring of Honor first started, I didn't watch it all the time because the only way you could do so was to buy DVDs and whatever, and I was young and I didn't have the money. So, but now that they're on TV, I've never missed an episode of Ring of Honor TV. Call me a nerd if you will.
No, not at all.
I'm a loyal fan of Ring of Honor.
WWE as well. It's just a different part of your brain that's operating while watching that content, right?
Yeah, exactly. But there are people, especially these people that I know, that were diehard fans of Ring of Honor when it first started, and then ever since they got bought by Sinclair Broadcast Group and started airing in late September of 2011, they don't like it anymore because they think the company's changed drastically, and they are like, oh, they sold out and did all this, and it's like, no, they just bought into a way that's going to find them more success.
More money.
Yeah. Money and success to me are the same thing, but.
And no, they're not really.
Well, to some extent, yes, but you can have success and not make a lot of money, but.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but success and money do kind of go hand in hand, and most of the time, people that are successful also have a lot of money to go with it, so.
Well, influence.
Yeah.
Influence more than money, because people with money aren't that really.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
You know. And we're ended with this. So from the ROH since post Sinclair to pre-Sinclair to post-Sinclair, what is the difference? Is there your pals who were watching ROH and got mad when they signed to Sinclair, what is different that what they would complain about, or something that you've actually noticed?
What I've noticed and what I've heard is, prior to their deal with Sinclair, prior to being owned by Sinclair, it's not necessarily the money or the way the company has run. To the extent it is, because I've heard that they didn't like Kevin Steen as the ROH champion. They typically have a hand in who their ROH champion is with most corporations. But the big complaint that I heard is that when they were on, because they used to be on a channel called HDNet, and the production values on the show from HDNet were apparently a lot better than the production values on Sinclair when they first started. And I mean, the production values on Sinclair have gotten drastically better since they did start, because if you look at earlier shows versus now, I mean, it's a lot better, but it's still not to the standard of HDNet, so I think that's really turned a lot of people off.
Oh.
My big complaint, and this is probably my only complaint about Sinclair, and I'm not sure if they're going to have to do this on Destination America, but because Sinclair and the channel that I get it on is called the CW Twin Cities, and they're on Channel 8, they are not a cable company, okay? Or they're on your basic cable. They're not, meaning that if you just have the however many channels there are with basic TV, I think it's 11 channels, all your local news and all that stuff, that is in there. And because it's on broadcast television, that's what I was looking for. Because the show is on broadcast television, whenever somebody gets busted open, they have to go from color to black and white.
Yes, I had the idea you were going to go that route.
Yeah. So that is my only complaint. But otherwise, I think the show's great. And I'm not sure if they're going to have to do that on Destination America, because it is the same show, but who knows?
What's the irony of it all?
What's that?
Going color makes you go black and white. Get it?
No.
Color.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I do. Okay, I had to think about it for a second. Because getting color, because that's, blood is called getting color. Yeah, that's funny.
And we're in this podcast with that, with Nathan needing a Red Bull.
Something like that.
Yeah, I need a I actually need to take a nap before I go into DJ. So before we give our goodbyes, go ahead and give some plugs, bro.
You can, let me find my sheet of paper because I have so many that I have to write them down. You can follow me on Twitter at Headliner5. Follow Eyes on the Ring at Eyes on the Ring. Follow Elite Podcast Network at Elite Podcast Net. EyesOnTheRing.com is where you can find everything Eyes on the Ring related. And read my stuff. I do all the Ring of Honor reviews. I'm toying with the idea of doing starting Lucha Underground reviews, but I'm not quite sure on that yet because every time I review a show, it kind of cuts down on my enjoyment of it a little bit.
Same here. That's why I won't do a Lucha. That's why.
Yeah, and like I still do enjoy like Ring of Honor, even though I review it every week. But Lucha Underground is just something that's so fresh that it's something you need to see instead of read it or read about it. So if you can see it, watch it. Because I don't know if I'm ever going to get around to doing those reviews because of that very reason. And then if you go to facebook.com/Eyes on the Ring and hit like, we've got I think 20 something likes. We need more. But everything that is on Twitter at Eyes on the Ring usually gets posted to Facebook. We're not linked, but I try to keep them up to date because I don't run the Twitter. I run the Facebook. So that's pretty much where we're at with that.
And that's it?
Yep, that's it.
All right. And on my half, we got Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling. Last Wednesday, we reviewed Elimination Chamber and Raw from San Antonio. Before that was my reactions. My reaction bid, last time I checked, was up to almost like 400, maybe a little past 400. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then Peter Talks SmackDown, which I will have up tomorrow. Like, if we weren't doing this podcast, I would actually done it today and have it up early Saturday. But it seems good. Hopefully, a little later early in the evening, you'll see the Peter Talks SmackDown. Ellen Japanese, LINJAPANESE is where you would find the SoundCloud page where all of these podcasts are in audio format. PJTW Central is where you can actually get all all the ways you can actually consume not only the New Day podcast, but for other things. And also, LA Japanese for Snapchat, if you do Snapchat, if you do Instagram, and PJTW Central on Twitter. So people like, subscribe, comment, go help out and support the homie Nate Dogg with what he got going with the Facebook and the Eyes on the Ring and all that shit. We need you. We need
another
you.
thing I
Follow.
failed to mention is that the Eyes on the Ring Twitter account is being used. We were rotating between who was live tweeting shows, but now usually it's just me live tweeting Raw over on that account. And I also, I copy and paste, so everything that's on that account is on my account as far as Raw tweets and stuff like that. But if you want my full thoughts on what I'm thinking about Raw when I watch it, then definitely follow that account or follow me. So either one, or follow both if you're cool. So.
And if you're listening, if you've gotten to this point, two things I want to point out. So apparently they're cutting the fucking grass outside. So if it's leaking through the recording, I apologize. I don't have a soundproof.
Yeah, I hear it, but it's okay.
For the listener too. And why we didn't speak about Raw? Because it sucked.
Yeah, it was atrocious.
Yeah, and so we're not going to talk on it. This motherfucker's getting closer and louder.
And I can't even believe we made it through an entire show without even mentioning it.
Yeah, for good fucking reason. It stunk.
Yeah,
it was so lackluster that it's not even worth mentioning. So that's why.
Okay, and I just want to mention this real quick. That I think or maybe it was on NXT. But I think they first mentioned the Kevin Owens Open Invitational on Raw that would take place on SmackDown on that Thursday, and it made me not care about anything that happened on Raw. And like the John Cena Open Invitational was extremely disappointing this week.
Who even took it? He didn't. No.
Zack Ryder.
That was Long. That was Long Island, dude.
Oh yeah, you're right.
This Monday was basically the face-off. He ran down Kevin Owens.
Yeah, you're right. Zack Ryder took the Kevin Owens challenge on SmackDown, so I was really happy for a second. And then Zack Ryder came out, and I was really sad.
Oh, dude, you spoiled it for me.
Oh, really?
What?
I had no idea. You didn't see it yet.
Never mind. So yeah, without further ado. I'm Peter, and
I'm Nathan.
And if you see this setup, I'm actually like talking to a speaker. I'm actually looking at the speaker like he's Mr. Franklin or some shit, right? What was his name on the Castaway, that fucking Tom Hanks movie?
Wilson,
that's it, Mr. Franklin. Yeah, I'm looking at my.
That was way off.
Well, I mean, Wilson, Franklin, they're presidents. But Wilson is the name of the brand.
But Wilson is also a name of the brand of the volleyball.
So that's why I call him Wilson. And I'm looking at this fucking speaker like it's Wilson. So it's pretty awkward setup. Hopefully by next week we'll be on Google. We'll be on Google Hangouts. Hopefully, if you can get over, how handsome you are, and you can showcase that to the world.
Yeah, totally.
We'll try to work it out to where we actually be on. Let's cut out a part of our schedule to see within the next 2 weeks how we can actually make it happen. So,
all right.
So without further ado, that's Nate. I'm Peter. Thank you so much for listening to the New Day podcast. This is episode 4?
I think so. Since we rebranded it, I think it's like 3 or 4. I think it's 3. Okay.
I think it's 3. All right. So
I think you're right.
All right. So thank you for listening. Everyone have a wonderful. It is Friday. Everyone have a fucking wonderful evening. Go, American Pharaoh. Go American Pharaoh. Damn it. Peace.